Welcome to the Ancient Wisdom of Christ, Part 6. You don't have to look at them all. You can definitely just take them in the order that you like. It's a slow class today. And before I do the reading, let's move just a little bit, because sometimes we need that as we come to the mat. Our mind is full of different things, and to listen in, we need to settle our bodies a little bit. So come into tabletop, spread your fingers out. And let's do those traditional cat-cows. I think we all know what that is. Spine up towards the sky. And then round your back. And you can do this following your breath so that you exhale as you round your cat up. And exhaling the other way. So sometimes you can move this around. Actually, I like to exhale as I round my back, inhale as I do the other way. But if you prefer the other way around, you know you can do that. So let the top of your mat find the floor. You have the weight of your body on your elbows, on your knees. So you're just massaging the top of the head a little bit without overdoing anything. Moving back, child's pose. Take a breath there. And then lift up. Taking your right leg to the top end of the mat, on the outer edge of your shoulder. Move to the front. You can have the toenails in the ground at the back. Stretching and then walking a little bit back. Stretching the front leg. As you walk your hands to the front, you're stretching your hip flexors, the psoas, and all that good stuff, and your hamstrings here. So walk forth and back just a tiny bit. As we do this, I can explain. So the story I'm going to read to you today is from John chapter 12. So this is pretty close to the time where Jesus is going to be crucified. So just to know where we are. So Jesus walks around in Galilee and all of this place in Israel for 3 years, actually, only from around the age 30 to 33 until he was crucified. So not a long time, actually, to share all his wisdom. All right, fingers down the mat and then step back, down dog. Just doing these low lunge stretches, lizard stretches on the other side. All right, the left leg to the front. Lower down right knee. Make sure that your knee here is close to your shoulder. And as we did before, walk your hands back, stretching the front leg somewhat. Walk your hands to the front, bending front knee, lowering down your hip. There are a few people present in the story. Actually, Judah is also present in the story. So Judah, as you might know, is the one that portrayed Jesus. And actually already here in the story, we are told that Judas was not maybe a trustworthy person, but he was one of the 12 disciples anyway. I'm sure Jesus knew what was going on, but this was a part of a bigger plan, an epic plan. All right, if you're ready to listen, find a seated position or even child's pose if you like. And I'll read this story from the Passion version. And I hope it surprises you a little bit. I like when Jesus surprises us. All right. If you're in child's pose, is seated, connect with your breath and make sure that you are somewhat relaxed in your body. And I'll say a short prayer that you can pray with me if you like. Jesus, may we open our minds, bodies, and soul to your wisdom. May your wisdom not only be a fun fact, but it may be something that changes things in our lives, make us more wise in the way we live, the way we act, and in what we believe. Amen. So listen up and maybe picture things in your mind as I read, okay? 6th day before the Passover began. It's a Jewish festival. Jesus went back to Bethany, the town where he raised Lazarus from the dead. They had prepared a supper for Jesus. Martha served, and Lazarus and Mary were among those at the table. Mary picked up an alabaster jar filled with nearly a liter of extremely rare and costly perfume, the purest extract of nard, and she anointed Jesus' feet. Then she whipped them dry with her long hair. And the fragrance of this costly oil filled the house. But Judas the locksmith, Simon's son, the betrayer, spoke up and said, "What a waste! We could have sold this perfume for a fortune and given the money to the poor." In fact, Judas had no heart for the poor. He only said this because he was a thief and in charge of the money case. He would steal money whenever he wanted from the funds giving to support Jesus' ministry. Jesus said to Judas, "Leave her alone. She has saved it for the time of my burial. You'll always have the poor with you, but you don't always have me." I just read the last part again. You will always have the poor with you, but you won't always have me. What wisdom do you find in this text? Don't worry if you have no answer. I hope I'll help you open up this story a little bit. Now, whatever pose you're in, find your way around. Again, tabletop position. And as we'll be standing here for a little bit, I fold my mat for the sake of my knees. Now, standing strong and involvement in your core muscles to stay here. Take your left leg out and back, extend it, flexing your foot. And then draw this knee in. You still have your hands on the mat. So this is your cow pose with this leg up. Extend it back again, lengthen through your whole core, and then bend the knee like you're walking on the ceiling, still flexing your foot and maybe lifting your knee just a tiny bit higher to involve your hamstrings. Stretch your leg out and then draw this knee in underneath yourself. Let's do that just a few more times. Extend out, you don't have to do it fast. Flex the foot, and when you're there, bend the knee, lift the knee a little bit higher. Again, knee underneath yourself, and make sure that this standing leg, your right leg, you have your knee and hip aligned as we move through the last little sequence here. Bend your knee, lift. I already feel this. And in. Lower down. Release. Let's do that on the other side as well. You can always come onto your knuckles here if it's kind of starting to hurt your wrists. Right leg out. Again, flexing the foot, core in so you don't arch the back. Bend the knee. Lift the heel, the leg, the knee a little bit higher. Again, closing the hip. Drawing your knee underneath yourself, chin towards your chest. Extend the leg out. Extend your spine. Bend the knee, hamstrings here. Lift. With this leg, bend it, draw it underneath your belly. 2 more times through. Make sure you breathe. Closing your hip as you are staying here on all fours. One last time. Beautiful. Let go. Shake your wrists. We'll give them a break, the knees as well. So unfold your mat. Down dog just for a second. Remember those hip width distance in between your feet. Sitting bones reaching back a little bit up. And then you walk your feet to the top end of the mat. Stand with this hip width distance, always 2 fists in between your feet. Slight bend in your knees as you roll your way up into mountain pose. Close your eyes. Now, this story is about prioritizing. As I think you know, it's not about avoiding helping poor people. Jesus did nothing but actually helping poor people, so that's not what he's saying here. He's just saying sometimes some things are more important than serving people around you. Gather your knees, your toes as much as you can, and sink into your chair. Draw your inner thighs together. lengthen through your spine. And maybe you take your hands here on your hip to notice where your hip is. You can definitely move your hip a little bit to see where it is in the middle, so you don't round your back or arch your back. Opening up into a twist, so palms together, left elbow on the outer edge, if you can reach, of your left thigh. Right elbow, left thigh. Coming back to center, fingertips on the mat. Reaching your right leg up and back as we did before. Flexing the foot, take a look back. And then again, bend your knee. Lift this knee up. Extend your leg out. And then draw your foot back and down towards the floor. Move your feet hip width distance. Sink your hip down. We are gonna open up. So before you twist it to your left side, now you're gonna open up your right side. So up with this hand. Now your hand on the floor can either be on the outside of the foot. If it's easier to draw it in here on the inside, do that. Make sure the back leg is stretched out. And then take both hands down on the mat. If you need to stretch out here a little bit, do that. If you're done, hands on the mat, step back into downward facing dog. Let's do quite a strong stretch on the legs. So coming down your Sphinx pose, elbows down. Palms are still on the mat, and for my body, I can't reach with my heels down here, so you might want to bend your knees, let your chest sink a little bit in between your elbows. Now slowly walk your feet further back. Just a few breaths in a plank pose. It's almost as we were there already. You can use your knees if it's too hard. Suck your navel all the way in. Thighs involved. And come down on your knees. Move yourself back. And I'll advise you to take your hands down by your side in child's pose, forehead on the mat, and rest here for a bit. So what I find as wisdom here is that Mary was so grateful. Maybe because she just loved Jesus, or maybe because Jesus actually rose her brother from the death, or we don't know why. But she spends what's a year worth of salary by anointing Jesus' feet. So there's a lot of money. And it could seem like it's useless. Why? But Jesus knows why. And he knows that this is important for Mary. So he receives a gift. Again, take your hands to the top end of the mat. Down dog. And walk your feet again to the top of the mat. Rolling up into mountain pose. Let's have a supported back bend before we do those few postures on the other side. If you can have your hands reaching up towards your shoulders, you will get a stretch on your arm as well, so it's really nice. But one way or another, holding your back, soften your knees, lean back, not too deep though. Reaching up. Gathering your knees and your toes. Sitting low. Making sure that this back bend you felt before, you don't feel this in chair pose because your spine is straight. Well, leaning a little bit to the front, but still straight. Palms together. Twisting, this time left elbow, right side. Palms together, thumbs moving towards your chest. And this is a hard pose. If you feel that, you are in the right place. Releasing hands down, fold forward. Half lift as you reach your left leg up and back, extending it but closing your hips so one buttock is not higher than the other. We did this before. Bend your knees, feet pointing, the sole of the feet pointing towards the ceiling, and then let go, lowering down your left leg. And then I scooch my right foot a little bit more out to the side to create some space. Opening up. Again, this hand on the floor, right hand stay on the outer edge of the inside of the foot, using blocks even. So left leg reaches up. Shoulder, move it down. You can even hold your shoulder and tuck it down a little bit. Release and stretch it out. Step back and then move into your plank. Come down on your belly. Let your right ear reach down for a little bit of a neck stretch. Take your arms down by your side, palms facing up. Let your toes reach in. Just a few things here for the back before we finish. So serving the poor is always a good thing. But sometimes you need to prioritize not only other people, but your spiritual life and your relationship with God. Because that is the most important thing. Now lift your head up here. Let's create some heat in this part up about a part of the body now. So point your toes, lift your chest off, lift your leg off, and stay here. Rotate your shoulder blades out and back, lifting your hands and your arms. Let go. Now your left ear is on the mat. Palms down, toes pointing in. As I was reading this passage this morning and talking to God about what to share, it really dawned on me that Mary was giving her best. Using that much money on feet, dirty feet. I mean, probably it was supposed to go into, I don't know, neck or hair or clothes or something like that, but not the feet. And then she dried his feet with her hair. Again, a sign of humbleness. And I felt it dawned on me, am I giving God my best? Or does he only get the leftovers because I'm busy serving everybody else? Let's still meditate on that after this pose. Bow pose. Again, we have practiced bending our knees, flexing our feet quite a lot, so we'll do it one last time. So reach your hands back. If you have lower back issues, you will stay here, not reaching for your ankles. So no problems with your back. Reach down. Maybe you draw your knees a little bit out to the side, actually to hold your ankles. Again, hooking your hands here around your ankle. Lift the knee up. Kick your ankles into your hands. Slowly let go, and let's use that crocodile pose, which means toes pointing out, and you can bend your knees, whatever feels good. Forehead on the mat, but on your stacked hands. And rest. Am I giving what actually is the most important thing in my life? What is left over? Or do I give my best to what I believe in the most? Do I prioritize my relationship with Jesus? Pulling yourself a little bit together on the mat again. One seated stretch, which will be a forward fold. So if you sit down and let your legs reach to the front, maybe you bend your knees. You want your sitting bones on the mat, so you're not seated like this, but sitting bones on the mat. Maybe taking your hands on your shoulders here, drawing your shoulders back, and let them just stay there for a little bit as you slowly lean forward. And avoid doing this as you move forward. When you feel like you're there, shoulders back, you might let go of the shoulders. Relax your thighs. You can even touch your legs, your calves to see if things relax. So what I feel is the wisdom here is that we can do good and we should do good. We're encouraged to do that throughout the whole Bible. But sometimes we need to do the best. Not just the good, but the best. Prioritizing our relationship with the most important. reaching up. And come down on the mat to relax. Now, if this forward fold was quite intense, it could be nice to just hug your knees in, not lifting your lower back up though, but just holding them here a little bit away from the chest. And I'll encourage you to stay here on the mat. I'll finish the video now, so you can definitely just press pause or whatever you do on the YouTube video and put a timer on. And I'll encourage you to do that. And just think and pray maybe about prioritizing not only the good, but also the best. I hope that you will stay down on the mat for 3 to 5 minutes and be in the presence of the wisdom of Christ. Thank you so much for joining this 6th part, and God's blessings on your path. And I hope that this wisdom grows in your heart and your mind. Thank you.